kind of getting into a place where they can fully dedicate themselves to it. And I don't think it's happening yet. And I think until it does happen, we'll be lagging behind the Koreans. And until that happens, we're not going to have. We'll still have the random little grudge matches like. That get played off on live stream every once in a while, but we're not going to have the epic rivalries internationally. That's what I'm really hoping and really praying for, actually, when it comes down the line.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. That sounds really incredible to watch and keep up with. So, what are your thoughts on the GSL? I mean, I guess in specifically compared to KESPA, but also as its own tournament, as its own kind of isolated community.
Um, I hate to say it, but I don't feel like the GSL has the same vibe that the OSL or even the MSL did. It still feels like the Intel Classic, the TG Sambo Intel Classic, which was it's very well run, and I think Tasteless and Artosis are awesome, but it just feels like it doesn't have that same sheen and it doesn't have that same overall polish, and it's missing the rivalries still. But I think that's partly just because StarCraft 2 is young overall, and there's nothing that can be done about that. But there's still definitely, I think it's like a core of seriousness that the tournament takes itself. I feel like the OSL and the MSL took itself very, very seriously, and I don't feel like the GSL takes itself as seriously, which may be a good thing. I don't know in the long run, and time will tell on that as well. I think internationally it works better to just not. I mean, it seems to be much more popular to not take yourself so seriously in the international crowd rather than taking yourself extremely seriously on kind of like the local tournament thing. So. In comparison to Kespa, I would say it just seems more relaxed overall. But at the same time, I'm not disappointed to see Kespa kind of getting pushed to the wayside, especially with some of the shenanigans they pulled with Blizzard and things like that. So I hear there's a lot of crazy stuff that's happening now in all of that scene, with a lot of the teams collapsing. There's threatened that NBC Game is going to pull their team, and OGN maybe as well, unless they attach on Degree Tech and all this crazy stuff happening. But mostly my thoughts are I'm glad it at least exists, and I'm hoping it's a baseline framework, and we'll see more GSL stuff, but kind of a focus, almost like individual GSL style for each country, maybe, or each region for StarCraft 2, and then maybe see like the ultimate GSL sort of thing or something like that. But I don't know. I guess I keep over talking all of these. I apologize. I guess the baseline thing is I just don't feel like it's taken itself as seriously as Casper or any of the Casper officiated events.
Oh, it's no problem. You can talk as long as you want to. It's just enjoyable listening to you.
I don't know about that. I'm sure some people are immediately going to make the comment. They're like, and this is going to guarantee that they make the comment. It's like, oh, he talks too much, goes on forever, too long interview, blah blah blah. But whatever. I like. I seem to be fitting in the audience voice a lot lately. Not sure what's behind that, but anyway, managed to fit it into another audio recording. There you go.
Okay, so now moving on to some of the questions that were submitted by Redditors in a thread. So first off, from Bequeth, one of the our StarCraft mods, what are your longer term goals with the StarCraft 2 scene, and what aspects of the game do you find entertaining to commentate?
And special shout out to him, by the way. He does a lot of stuff for Reddit, as well as Cnome, as well as the entire Reddit crew. I want to put special emphasis on everybody that's look in that right hand panel, look at all the mods, and go and PM them and thank them. Also Harley Quinn. Um, so longer term goals with the StarCraft 2 scene. It's funny because with the StarCraft 1 scene, I had goals that didn't fully get met. One of them was to try to continue commentating and fill in the gap and encourage someone like Day9 to start commentating, which happened. I was happy that that happened. Day9 is the example I use because Day9 filled in that gap. The other one was to try to encourage a lot of newbies to play, to see like not necessarily where we'd be able to beat the Koreans, but where the foreigner community would at least get respectable comparative to the Koreans, which I'm not sure that that exactly happened, and now that's obviously in the past because StarCraft 2 is released and the entire thing is kind of spread out. So now I guess the longer term goals of the StarCraft 2 scene is I guess I can be the old grandpa voice right here and just be like, "Arr." What I'm hoping to do is rile up the viewers, the spectators, and the players themselves to just demand more out of this, because I think if I really feel like if the viewers and the players just let the scene kind of sit like it is, that the corporations themselves are going to bumble over one another and they're not really going to get it done. And I think it's up to the players themselves and the spectators to demand that StarCraft 2 really be established as an esport, to really say that we want a single unified league We want team leagues. We want the players to be treated well, and the players themselves to say we want to be treated better. We don't just want a measly $100, $200 kind of in these contracts. We actually want to do this full time. Um, I really feel like there has to be demands, not just from the players themselves, but mostly the viewers as a community to do that. And I'll keep being a voice to try to spur that on, that the viewers demand more. And I don't think that's too much to ask from the StarCraft viewers, because I feel like StarCraft, more than any other sport, we're very picky, which is, it's a blessing and a curse. Personal goals, I hope to at some point get to a stage where I'm getting a little bit of income out of Brood War, so maybe I could go part time on my own job, so I could commentate more, I guess. And I have to say, it would be really tempting if I could make enough money on the side so that my wife could go part time as well, because she works crazy hours as a nurse. And what aspects of the game do I find entertaining to commentate? Really, just the innovation that's happening right now. Really, in StarCraft, you'd have kind of every once in a while games would kind of get boring. I have to admit, where you'd see like the 30th game of TVP and it was the same TVP sort of thing. And then there would be that 31st game. And in that 31st game, you would see a completely different revolutionary style. And it feels like right now in StarCraft 2, that's happening like every third or fourth game, where you see something completely new, you're seeing a new style of doing things, or you see a new kind of fluid method of playing. And part of that is just because, again, it's a young game. But I really, really, if that's kind of what when you're just watching it I think as a spectator and also as a commentator, that's what you look for, and that's what keeps you interested and driven in the game. That's happening a lot more in StarCraft 2 right now.
Well said. Okay. The next guy, I can't pronounce his name, but it's varsity spelled backwards. So his question is, when are we going to get some dual slash triple slash multicasts again from like the old days? And I also tacked on, is there any plan on using the Violattack account for StarCraft 2 stuff?
So the Vile Attack is specifically for multiple dual multicasts, triple casts, things like that. It's been set aside for that. There's been some talk. Moletrap and I have been trying to get in contact with John747 actually to hand Vile Attack over to him possibly to push some of so he could actually start pushing stuff again. It's actually he's not even sure why he was banned actually. So for side information on that, he isn't sure whether it was because he uploaded GSL and was immediately banned immediately after that, but it's possible it was WCG at the same time because WCG was just in front of that, and it was only like a 4 or 5 minute kind of spans to when the GSL stuff was up to when the WCG stuff. I actually was tempted to recommendate the WCG stuff, but at the same time, there's the debate. It's like, oh, do I want to get banned and strip controversy and start all over again, or would that even be anyway? But really, the limitation on the dual, particularly between Moletrap and I, the dual casts is just timing. I mean, before when we were managing to do all the dual casts and triple casts, part of the reason we were able to do it so often is because we were either both part-time employed, temp workers, or completely unemployed. And now we are both. I'm employed full time. He has kind of a weird working schedule. So really, the solution to that is specifically for Moletrap, because I think he has the harder schedule for him is make it so he gets sponsorship or something like that and actually can settle down income and put in less hours to work and focus more on casting. I would say for me, I'm less concerned. For him, I really wish that would happen because I don't know that he could live any other life when it comes down to it. He stays up late like every night watching StarCraft. He's way more addicted to watching StarCraft than I am. Um, so yeah, I would honestly say if you want to see more dual and triple cast, just pave the way so that we can make it so we have more time that where we can do it together, specifically on his end, because I think it's more kind of the schedule he has. That's more the obstacle to that, where I have like I feel like I'm really on a steady schedule now, and he's just like all over the place between sleep and between work, which even his work hours are bizarre.
Okay, and our last question is from Kiali. You've touched on this before, but do you think it's likely or preferable for casters to team up to cover various Korean tournaments when they start having more of them?
I think it is preferable. In fact, the one of the original goals with the StarCraft 1 commentary was to have every single Korean thing covered, basically Pro League or specifically OSL and MSL, to have every OSL and MSL game covered. And for a while, between Moletrap, myself, and Cholera, and a couple other people, we actually Ranchin and Nuke the Stars specifically, and I'm trying to remember who else. I think Deus was still around back in the day for all the people that remember that a long time ago. We covered every single game in the OSL and MSL and most of Pro League, not all of Pro League, but most of it. And that is preferable, but incredibly unlikely just because the commentators are so scattered and it's a little bit more, it's not vicious, I would say. It's more, um, how do I put it? It's more like a free for all. Like a replay will come out that's of note, like Boxer versus whoever, and people will commentate it or try to be the first one to commentate it just to kind of reap in the subscribers and viewers. Whereas before, we would generally defer it to one person or the other. Like Moletrap would claim it ahead of time, or I would claim it ahead of time, or we'd defer it to one of the other guys and say, "Hey, do you guys want to do it this time?" Which wasn't a perfect system because I think we ended up doing more streamlined games because of seniority, which was kind of unfair, to be honest. And maybe we're reaping the karma for that. But but overall, I just think it's not very likely for casters to really team up to cover it these days when they start having more, just because of the nature of kind of the StarCraft 2 commentating scene right now, and because it is so scattered, and because I think there's a couple people that are they're cordial, but um, they're not like really into partnering. I guess they're kind of more out of there on their own sort of thing, and I don't know that there'd be the kind of same friendly infrastructure that we were able to set up before. So, unfortunately.
Okay, so that's it for the questions. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Is there anything else I would like to say? Shout out to the Reddit community as well as SC2GG, and I really appreciate all of you guys, particularly because uh, specifically kind of having that democratic system where you can just upvote and downvote things and put stuff on the page. I really think that's kind of my ideal system as far as almost anything would run. So I think Reddit it's a unique place and it's an awesome place, and keep enjoying StarCraft and keep enjoying watching it. So
Okay, thank you, Diggity. It's been a pleasure doing this interview with you. So, yeah, I have no idea how to end this. So,
no worries. I guess we can do it. Thanks for listening, everybody.
okay, yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. And I will have other interviews coming soon.